someone who deals with lies has a great deal of respect for honesty and the truth. And it's what Picasso said, that art is the lie that tells the truth. Yeah, I'm very interested in criticism and in everything synthetic and in turning things on their head, because those are formulae for generating interest, you know. If you see things from a new angle, you can think about it freshly. And for me, every lie creates a parallel world, the world in which it is true. So that's kind of my motif for this false kiosk, is to make people take lies a bit more seriously as a way to generate creative thoughts. In a way, this performance started as a thing in the Whitney Biennial, a performance I did in 2006 called The Unreliable Tour Guide. So I was going to be doing tours in person, maybe even here also, in which I tell lies, like a museum tour. But I thought it was more interesting to start a slightly new aspect, because it's a sculpture biennial, to do something sculptural and physical. I don't know, I used to be very nervous about public speaking, and I think that it's one way to get around my nerves was just to say, well, I can say whatever I like. I'm in control here, and I'm allowed to tell lies. And this used to be called in the art world institutional critique.
They say that time moves fast and life is short, but art is long. And so, to make it last, I'll put my love into a song. And if it wasn't for Elisa, I don't know where I would be. They say that he who hesitates is lost, but so am I.
They're distributed really, well, online. I put them up in various places, but also here on the false kiosk itself, the wooden structure, which is borrowed from some Japanese architects called Atelier Bawao. And it's originally a manga pod. It's designed to house mangas, and you sit inside and you read them. So in this case, we put false brochures, which are a bit like church evangelical brochures. Information which is kind of outrageous, you know. There is the supernatural being who created the world. He sent his son, all this kind of thing. Outrageous. But if people find something interesting in it and something calm and peaceful in it, or whatever, you know, it creates something which becomes true. So you have this sociological paradox that religion is real, whether we believe the things it's saying or not, because it's real in a sociological sense as something that people think about and something that has a history, an organization behind it, and all the rest of it. You know, you have a so-called nanny culture here in Sweden where you can't buy alcohol in the supermarket above a certain percentage and all the rest of it. A lot of things are controlled, but things like art are left as a kind of playpen where humans can express their freedom in an exemplary way, a symbolic way. So I guess I'm always interested in those areas of freedom, because in a way they model potential societies where everyone is free. I find that you get the most strong impression of a place within the first hours of your arrival there. You see all the differences from the last place you were in, and that's a kind of an amazing, almost a heightened state of reality. I've discovered routes, secret routes by which you can cross the city only in car parks, because you have two choices in this city. It's a city for cars. You have the choice to walk beside the cars and to breathe in the exhaust fumes, or you can walk across the stationary car landscapes of the car parks. So I'm going to make a newsletter about that as well. Put maps of my secret routes.
Life is short, but art is long. And so, to make it last, I'll put my love into a song. And if it wasn't for Elisa,
I'm kind of interested in, before they took the covers off, because now the sculpture is much more specific and it starts to tug, semantically it tugs you towards its own meanings and its own interests. I'm kind of interested in things when they're much more ambiguous. So when the covers were on, I could say, what's this going to be? Is it a Buddha? Is it a dome? You know, is it the Aleph, what Borges called the Aleph, which is the place in the world from which you can see everything in the universe simultaneously. And so in a way I'm turning the sculpture into ambient sculpture and I'm stripping it a little bit of its context. Normally a tour guide would tell you the context in a lot of detail. And one of the critiques in my work is that people tend to spend more time looking at this didactic text in a museum than they do actually looking at the art itself. And that's because they're afraid of getting the wrong meaning from a work of art. And art doesn't really work with right and wrong. It works with interesting and boring. It's a different set of criteria, and people are allowed to have their own personal responses. It's absolutely fine. The artist is not going to be there saying, no, 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 that's wrong, I didn't mean this, you know. So that's called the intentional fallacy, you know, that the artist's intention matters. Actually, it doesn't. It's the response which is really important.